the way back. Hey, so we're like in a little bit of a sweet spot. So the gap up today, good morning everybody. The gap up today is frankly rather big. Big gap ups are the hardest days to trade. The big gap up days, like this is a 2% gap up. These are the hardest days to trade. So what we got to be doing is really looking to see like how the first dip in the market holds. You can't chase it up like 2% today. If you look like it's going to tap you right in, you're going to bust over the 50 SMA, which is actually really bullish. So what we need to do is think like on the QQQs at least. What you really need to do is think about like, okay, if we can just tap back a little bit, that'll be a sweet spot, right? But you can't chase this thing up. And the reason you can't chase it up is if you think about it, we've been up like 3-4 days in a row. Now, it's easy to think like, okay, we just had this huge crash and now we went up 3-4 days in a row. Like maybe we crashed today or like, you know, like that. The market is done with its like crash phase of, you know, its range. Like most likely we're going to be settling into like a longer term kind of range, but we're going to be grinding up, grinding down a little bit. You're not going to necessarily get like the easiest, you're not going to get the easy shorts anymore. There will still be shorts in the market, but it's not going to be the crash shorts where you're just using inverse ETFs and stuff. Now we're back into using, you know, regular stocks and things like that. So the structure, I would say, of the market has changed. And you can tell that from the price action. If you saw yesterday, you know, if you looked yesterday, like even on like the Dow Jones, you know, the market was down like 500 points yesterday at one point. It didn't even feel like a down day. Hey, Vinny, how are you? It didn't even feel like a down day. Like there were stocks just running around all over the place. You know, like stocks like Tesla and stuff. I fucked up that Tesla. Man, I had a big load of that at 588. It went up all day. I sold it so early. Gosh darn it. So let's talk about the watch list for today. The plan for today, though, you can't chase anything up today. Either wait for some sideways consolidation in the market or wait for a pullback and then, you know, let this thing play out the way it needs to. Let's take a look and just kind of figure out like what's happening here. So Roku, I think a couple stocks are going to be in play today. Roku, first of all, it looks like they did like a surprise earnings, which is interesting. It's going to take it out of this range and out of this 100 spot. I like the look on this one. The issue on Roku, so Roku's got 81 million share float, so it's still fairly low float. The issue on this one is it's been up a few days in a row, but I think if this thing pulls back at the open, there may be a shot at a long on this one. It looks like if you see here, they threw out their earnings in a surprise. It wasn't supposed to be yesterday, but it is. The other thing that's good with Roku, why I like it today, where I think we may have a chance on a long, especially on the first dip. So watch when it pulls back to a 9 EMA, 20 EMA on that first dip, then you go. So what I mean by pull back to 9 EMA, 20 EMA is like if you get some early morning strength in a stock, right? If you get say you got a stock that gaps up, like this gaps up like $30, right? Let it pull back to the 9 EMA. When you get a green candle to hold over it, then you can just put a stop under and you let it roll. All right? That's the easiest type of play you can do when you have a stock that's got like some fresh news out or fresh earnings out. So for today, for Roku, that's the plan. The second part is you can't chase Roku on strength ever. Every stock has its own kind of characteristics of how it moves, how it shakes, how it bakes. Roku is like notorious for like if you buy it a little bit too high, it just rug pulls on you. It's happened to me a million times. So what we want to do is let that thing pull back to the 9 or 20 EMA, let it hold, and then we're going to be good to go. The other part that why I like Roku today, if you look at Netflix is busting out. Netflix is busting out the highs too. Now they're not in like the they're not the exact same company, but they run together. They're in the same kind of sector of right TV, video, thingy majiggies. This one is hot also, so I think as long as this Netflix stays up at this, look at the big breakout on this thing. So if you look here, this is like a weekly chart. The all-time highs on Netflix is like 20-ish. So we've got a suction on Netflix till that point. So I do think Roku could have some legs here with this thing cooking and booking. So I like this one. This is my favorite for today. Ad number 2. We were long this Tesla yesterday. Now look, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days in a row. This gap up today, if you're going to long Tesla, you can't chase it on strength today. You got to hit it on a big dip. Like, it would need like maybe a $20, $30 dip at the open. If it does, watch and see how it marinates and holds. And then, you may get a long on it. But like, for me personally, like this has tons of momentum. So I want to be watching it and playing it. But I cannot chase strength on a day 6 of a move. That's just a rule of thumb. On day 6 of a move, if you buy high, meaning like say you got like a little flag pattern or something like that, they just have a higher probability of failing. So on when a stock starts to get a little bit extended, you want to always hit it on dips, and then you're going to be good to go on this bad boy. But the stock has like a ton of momentum. We may even get a short out of it later. Peloton had a range expansion candle yesterday. What I mean by range expansion candle is like it had been sitting in a consolidation for the last week or so. I mean, it's really been in consolidation for months. You had a big push yesterday, 12%. You even had a little bit of an uptick in volume, which is good. If you look here at the longer term chart on Peloton too, you're kind of like right at a sweet spot. If you can kind of hold this level, this thing could be, all-time highs is really not that far away, like 5 points. I think this one's got some juice on it. We've got a fairly flat open on it. This thing was cooking into the close. This thing was cooking and booking into the close. You can see here from the first dip. Any kind of pullback at this today, like I want to see if I can scoop some of this bad boy up. I think it's going to have just enough momentum. There's not that many stocks that are like getting close to breakout. This is a recent IPO, and frankly, with that, I guess with everybody home, like this, like people are hopping on their $3,000 bikes. So from what I can gather, nobody's got jobs. Everybody's stuck at home. People get their $1,200 stimulus checks, and they're like, man, I should buy myself a $3,000 bike with an iPad attached to it. That's what it sounds like. Hey, I'm never surprised by Americans. Amazing. That's the most American thing we could do. That's incredible. So I like this Peloton. Let's put this on the list. This thing is looking zesty. Nugget. Man, we shredded this thing yesterday. We shredded this thing nice yesterday. Granted, I got out of my last shares at like a little bit before 11. So I did into this push. I missed this whole secondary push due to some napping. These naps start costing me money. But look at the trend on this. 950 to 11. If you look, this is like what you really want to see. Like when you're looking at like an intraday stock, like how it's reacting, how it's going. This is about as clean as you get. Like you're just kind of trending up the 9 EMA, you pull back a little bit, trending up, trending up, trending up, trending up. That's picture perfect trend. Like that's, even if you have a small account, like, I mean, that's a $1,000 trade right there if you do it right, even if you're trading like a pretty small account. If you look here, the overall look of this is fantastic. This thing's got some heat. Its sister is JNUG. JNUG was up 16%, so even a little bit more. Actually worked a little bit cleaner. You got a nice trend on it. I would be surprised if like this is the end of this. Now, they have been grinding higher for a few days, so you just got to be a little bit careful with it, but you got room to run. The reason that these things are going, so JNUG Nugget, the reason they're going is that gold is at a breakout, right? Gold is at a breakout, and if you think about the breakout in gold, it's a multi-year breakout from 2013, maybe 2012. So it's almost a 10-year breakout in gold, all right? Now, gold is like not the sexiest thing or the funnest thing to trade ever, but like the breakout can't be denied. The breakout can't be denied. Like you got 1 test, 2 tests, 3 tests. You're pushing here. So when gold goes, right, Nugget, I mean, so, and these things got room to run. Like gold is at highs here. Nugget, JNUG, like these things are pretty cheap right now. These things may have some room to run here. Man, ideally, if we got like a little bit, Nugget always works better on a shakeout, meaning like if you can get some type of dip at the open, it'll do this where it'll open strong. You know, it'll pop up and then it'll pull back, and you'll see it like kind of pull into some supports. And like it's hard to just blindly buy it when they hit supports. But as they start to shake out and marinate, you start busting back over the VWAP. What you want to do is watch it hold over that VWAP. And then as it starts to move and shake, like what do we have? 10.15 yesterday, give or take. Yeah, I had like 10.15. As it's just holding over the VWAP, when you get that first pullback into your EMAs as it's marinating over the VWAP, that's usually like your spot. Then you're going to get a nice push on this bad boy. And then it's off to the races. I do think these things got a little bit of upside due to the breakout in gold. It may not be today, but it's going to be the next couple days. These things are really going to start moving. They look pretty good. They look pretty good. So you can go with Nugget or JNUG. You probably don't need to keep an eye on both of them. They both pretty much run together. JNUG is junior miners. Nugget is gold miners. So JNUG will move like maybe a few more percent. But frankly, it's cheaper, so the commissions are higher. So I always trade JNUG. I never trade Nugget. But, you know, JNUG is like half the price, and so I knew my commissions would be double. So I just I went with the Nugget yesterday. But it's a lifestyle. You guys will learn this. You can see here, you got Cook, RCL, CCL. So these are all the cruise lines. The cruise lines are popping up a little bit. These are tricky plays. Because they're going to be gapping up, but they're going to be just kind of gapping up into resistance here. We'll have to let the trend set on these before we figure out like what's going on them. I'm not necessarily Bobby Millar. What's up? Bobby Millar. The man, the myth, the legend. So JNUG, we'll keep it on the watch list, but the commissions are a little bit high on this bad boy. So where we want to go with this? Favorites, Netflix. All right, you got a week open on this bad boy. Let this thing dip and then rip. Meaning, like, let it pull back to 9 or 20 EMA and then go. We want this thing to break back over 400. And I think we're going to have a hot spot on this one. Roku, number 2. Roku, number 2. You got a rounding bottom, a nice double booty bottom. You guys all stuck in the house, you should know. Booties are getting bigger. Double booty bottoms getting double big. You got a nice push over this one. You guys should see Robert Millar's wife. She gained 34 pounds in 2 weeks. He's been making her do it. It's been fantastic. He's been posting pictures all over the internet. You can find him at Icknick Traders. He's got some nice photos going. So you got this thing busting over 100. We want a pullback. 920 EMA. We're good to go. Chewy had a rest day. Hey, Fadi, what's up, baby? Chewy had a rest day yesterday. We're sitting right at all-time highs. It was relaxing yesterday. It was just doing a little bit of a marination station, sitting under 42. Let's watch this one. If it starts to build, breaks back over these highs, I think we're good. Yes. Penn is cooking. We got a trend line break here right around 15. If you're looking at the hourly chart, this thing is coiled up, man. This thing is coiled up. So you got yourself a level that's building. If you're this hourly chart over here, you got a level that's building. If it starts to kind of cook over this thing, we may have a little chance on this bad boy. We may have a little chance on this one. I like this. It's coiled up. The key is going to be today, guys, you can't chase the gap in the market. All right, I repeat, you can't chase the gap in the market. The gap is 2.19% on the QQQs, 2.10 on SPY. That's a lot. You start chasing the gap today. Look at the watch list, right? If all your stocks are 5, 6, 7%, it makes it really tricky. So every stock you have on your list, There's only two things you can do. Number one is you got to wait for a pull. So you want to do it just like you did on Tesla. Like, you want to let it pull. I repeat, you want to let these things pull. You want to even let the market pull back. It'll pull back. It'll pull back to the 920 EMA. You start to hold, and then you go. If you chase this market up today, it's going to be very, very tricky because you're going to be chasing it, into like some resistance spots, which is frankly, when the market gets hot, resistance is futile. But like the first tests into resistance do matter slightly. So I keep an eye on this one. Peloton's number 2. Or Peloton's number 3. I like this one. I think this one's going to get up into the 34, 35 relatively quickly. Yes. I'm still waiting on this BA, man. It was nasty yesterday, but the market was down. But you can see here the range is just getting tighter and tighter. We're so close. We're so close on this bad boy to getting an inflection point. Mr. Bradley, it's a pleasure to have you. I like this one too. You can see here, you've got a little bit of a range inside a range. So it's like a double positive negative range. This thing is looking good to go. So if it comes out of this one, then you're going to be into this next kind of 157. Then you're going to be good. SQ, not my flavor. I think it's sitting right under a bunch of resistance. I think there's going to be some cleaner plays. Aikiki. Let me see. This is this is not my cup of tea. This is probably a pump and dump stock. I'm sure it's fantastic and you're going to make a bajillion dollars. But the only things I like to pump and dump are at nighttime. At nighttime, baby. Yo, this thing looks all right, but, I don't know if I want to chase this bad boy up. I don't want to chase this bad boy up. It's not really my cup of tea. It looks all right, though. Yeah, Docu looks pretty good. The Docu's a tricky trader at times, but, the setup is there on the daily. Like, see this SQ? Somebody just asked about SQ. SQ's like kind of right under these MAs right now, Josh. I think that one's going to be tricky. Anshul, JDST. JDST, so what happens with these 2x, 3x ETFs is when they start declining, they just start to shift their way back to zero because there's something in there with the leverage. So, you could see this thing just like literally just kind of float into the pennies. We saw this with some of the oil ETFs. And the reason is this. Say you're a 3x ETF or a 2x ETF. Say you're a 3x ETF. So say the underlying instrument goes down 33% in one day. What would your 3x ETF do? Theoretically, it'd have to go to zero, right? Which it's not going to because there's still some supply and demand. So that's why some of these 3x ETFs get just like nasty. I know a lot of you guys are asking about work. This looked like a nice little trader yesterday. We were staring at it, but I was, what the problem with these bad boys, sometimes no matter even how hot the setup is, you always think you're late. It looks all right. So you're going to have some weakness today. Watch this bad boy. Like if it starts to pull back, man, you may get this thing maybe, somewhere in the zone. If you start to pull back and it holds, then watch for the red to green on it, and I think you'll be good to go. So moral of the story, favorites for today, Roku, Netflix, Tesla, Peloton, the cruise lines, and then, we just got to wait for some pullbacks. And then, of course, we need a little pullback in the market. That's all. If we get a little pull, we good to go. All right? Sweet. Let's go have some fun. Yesterday was pretty fun. Obviously, the gold plays paid the bills. Now we're going to get a secondary run. Yes, and this is also a favorite. Good. As always, give me a thumbs up. If you guys are having fun, you guys are more than welcome to join me in My Discord room, we're hooting and hollering in there all day, every day. We'll be in there cruising. If I could turn back time. If I could turn back time. If I could find a way. All right, let's do this, guys. Let's have a little fun. It's a pizza party.